It is ban list prediction time. I am predicting what I think the ban list will do that is coming very, very soon. Not what I want them to do. Let's go.
There can only be one winner, and you're looking at him. Let's go.
Number one, why are we doing this video? Well, last year, 1 week after the Casey Cup, they had a ban list. So we're expecting it, just like last year, usually after Casey Cups, for there to be a ban list. Let's predict what we think they will do. And it is based off of the current tier list that we have right now above my head. So what is up with this ban list? How are we going to make this ban list prediction? It's not going to be what I want. It's not a ban list wish list. It is a ban list prediction. Okay? So even with that said, 100% chance it happened throughout the entire stream. Fools will still say, Dkayed thinks that this should happen. I can't believe it. Dkayed thinks this should happen. He thinks that should happen. What is wrong with Dkayed? No, I'm predicting. Okay, my friends? Let's go. So the purpose of a ban list, you need to also understand, is not just to balance the game. Okay, so there could be something that's really good that recently came out that Konami wants to continue to be really good. So they may not balance it. They want to keep the game fresh and fun. That is the #1 priority. So in addition to balancing, it's also to keep things fresh and fun. So we're gonna use the precedent set on how Konami's been ban listing things earlier in previous years, and we're gonna apply that knowledge into this. So real quick, if you're new to ban lists of Duel Links, it doesn't work like the TCG. If 2 different cards are limited to 2, then combined, you can only play 2 of those cards. They're in a bag. So you pull them out, you can only pull 2 out. So 1 and 1. If you play 2 of the card, you have to play 0 of the other card if both cards are limited to 2. It's kind of weird. Now, my belief with Konami's ban list is they abide by the more top tier decks we have, the better. I think that's their unofficial motto within their company, that they want to have as many top tier decks as possible. They want them to be super competitive, everything. So the ban list is not trying to take your deck off the tier list unless it's been there forever like Shiranui. If your deck's been on the tier list for 6 months to a year, then you should probably fear them removing it. Otherwise, the goal is to make room for other decks to be top tier. So your deck could still be top tier, but if they chip it down a bit, you have room for other top tier decks to join your top tier deck. That's the goal at the tier list, I believe. So Cocytus, for example, is a perfect example of a card that was single-handedly preventing other decks from being top tier. So by removing it, Desperado jumped up, a bunch of other decks became a lot more competitive. So this is what a good ban list does, is one deck restricting 5 other decks, you take out that one deck. So let's start with the ban list prediction. Starting off with Ally of Justice Quarantine, I believe it's going to be limited to 2 alongside the Cup of Ace. That means it's pretty much banned. So the Quarantine will not be usable. If you want to use Cup of Ace, you're going to use Cup of Ace as a draw 2. Neither players can special summon light monsters. That has been incredibly restrictive for new decks like Noble Knights, Blue Eyes, and Photon. You want to have fun with Photon? No fun for you. For example, I felt so bad. I felt even ashamed. I felt secondhand embarrassment for the Kaiba event when a player would summon Quarantine and then the other player, the influencer, would be like, why can't I do anything? Really? This exists? I just can't play my cards? So Konami's definitely going to do something about this. Not cool. It's a massive anti-fun, anti-interaction card. Next up, head judging. Now, Dkayed, you're biased. Do you think this card should be banned? You just dislike this card? Well, I do, but I'm also predicting that Konami will actually do something with this card. It's stealing games. It is not cool. It is anti-fun. Both players are angry. You're expecting to actually negate. If it doesn't negate, you're upset. If you actually negate, you're stealing games. I think it will be limited to 2 with Cup of Ace. Massive anti-fun. Now, I'm all for you having fun with your meme cards, using them in your meme decks. That's fine. If your meme deck wants to play 3 triple head judging and you want a second coin toss card or whatever, that's cool. But what's not cool is when a top tier deck starts abusing meme cards, anti-interaction cards. then it's a problem. That's when you're going to get hit. We're not done. We're still semi-limiting. Misjudge. If an opponent activates a card effect, you're going to flip 2 coins, guaranteed with the skill, you're going to negate. Naku. Too commonly, it is searched for on the first turn. So with the Fortress and the Desperado Barrel Dragon, you discard Desperado, you search for the Misjudge. Now you have a first turn setup, which is going to be over 4,000 damage if you go second, and negate anything. So this is really not cool. In a meme deck, it's fine. In Desperado top tier, a searchable negate, not cool. So the total damage to Desperado I am predicting is, with Cup of Ace already at 2, we have Misjudge, Head Judging, and Quarantine joining it at 2. So let's look at a deck list. This is what a deck list is going to be hit by. Goodbye Head Judging, goodbye Misjudge, goodbye to the Quarantines. And I voted on with the chat. The chat said they really like for this to happen. They want this to happen. So Konami, I'm predicting this. Maybe you should do it. Also with a ban list comes nerfs to skills or changes to skills. So see you later, you could return your monster and then you could play it again. So with Ritual Beast, which is not a broken interaction, you could send multiple cards back to your opponent's hand, you could activate multiple effects, you could super boost up your field. That's a really cool interaction. So it will suck if they actually do this, but I do predict they're doing this because the stick and chair combo is being abused with this skill. A big future problem skill also, if you're from the TCG, think if you had with any of your decks the ability to return a card you control back to your hand and then play it again that turn. You know that that is super abusable, and it's a problem that's just waiting to happen. And that problem may very well be right now because it got first place global. First global plus some other top decks abused this skill on the 3rd day of the KC Cup. See you later with stick and chair. So the combo would be, you summon the stick, you search the chair. You see you later, you return the stick. Then you use Photon Lead or Valhalla to summon the stick back onto the field. What's going to happen is you're going to draw 3, pop 1, and you're going to make a triple rank 4 Exceed monster. The chat likes this change. Up next is Draw Sense Spell in Trap. Some skills don't have to be abused by a top tier deck to get nerfed. Sometimes Konami just overlooks a skill, and I feel like they overlooked this. I think Draw Sense Spell and Trap, after you've taken 1,000 damage, you will search your deck, you'll randomly in your draw phase add a spell or trap to your hand. With Dark Lords, this is being used, abused, looped infinitely. Infinite looping of the same spell and trap. You lose 1,000 to activate your effect, you return the spell back in the deck, you then add the spell back to your hand, you add it back to the grave, back to the deck, back to the hand, back to the grave, back to the deck. It's infinite looping, and it's just a problem waiting to happen, even though Dark Lords are not top tier. If they were to ever unnerf Dark Lords, this skill could not exist in its current state. So if you are for Dark Lords being unnerfed, you want the skill to be nerfed because it's not going to happen. They have nerfed skills like this before. Destiny Draw used to be more than once per duel. The Kaiba Court Bling used to be a problem with infinite looping. This is just another problem. Here's a big one. Balance. No longer guaranteeing a monster spell and trap in your opening hand. It will instead just increase your chance. So this is a prediction, not what I want. Why am I predicting this? In the past, they have nerfed other guaranteed skills. Trap Layer, Spell Specialist, My Monster cards, they were guaranteeing a certain hand, at least a card. Guaranteed trap, guaranteed spell. Konami nerfed it, they cut that. So hopefully they're more transparent about nerfing balance and they tell us what they're doing, because sometimes they change the skills and don't even tell us. It doesn't even say on the skill to guarantee a monster spell and trap, but it does that when you play the correct ratios. So I think there's a chance that it's going to, like the skill says, increase your chance but not guarantee. Usually once a top tier deck abuses something like this, it then gets hit. So Noble Knights will be the reason for balance to get hit. Even though balance is used in your non-top tier decks and it's only one Noble Knight deck in top tier that's messing with it and it's going to make you upset because all your other decks are going to get nerfed, Yeah, it sucks. It's just how it is. We all had fun with Grass until Witchcrafters and Shiranui used it. We all had fun with other skills until other top tier decks used it. It's what they're going to do because it's very easy to hit a skill instead of hurting the deck. Because if you hurt the deck, you invested in the deck. You didn't invest in the skill. Even if taking out the skill ruins your deck, Konami gets to say, hey, we didn't touch your cards that you put money into. No one's putting money into skills, so they are an easy target to nerf. Instead of that change, they could change balance to be similar to the Grit nerf, where you cannot special summon on your first turn. The turn you activate balance. So if you activate balance, which is at the start of the duel, on your very first turn, you cannot special summon on your first turn. So that's going to restrict Noble Knights a lot. They're not going to be able to make their play where they summon Madrat, special Abors. That's going to get restricted. They would probably put down the skill. And then this would have the least impact on your other favorite decks, like your Triamids, your Arrow Mages. Even your Goki could still use this. Goki's not going to be able to special summon on the first turn. With the Goki, activate special summon from the hand, but you could still normal summon, set a bunch of back row. So the best way to preserve balance while preventing crazy decks in the future and Noble Knights right now from abusing it could be this. Chat believes the second change is the best change for balance if they had to choose between two. Do draw. Onomat. Brand new deck. How am I predicting this? That's insane. It just came out. All the latest support that made the deck top tier. Say it ain't so. It's so. I'm going to say that Do Draw will be limited to 2 with True Nade. Because True Nade, this is incredibly frequent. This happens a lot. Most expected of any top tier deck abusing/using limited to 2 cards, especially Hate True Nade. If your deck's using Hate True Nade and it's top tier, you know it's temporary. It's not going to be for long. If your deck is using it, then you're probably a turn 1 kill deck, and being a turn 1 kill deck is not a fun deck to play against. So why Do Draw? Well, the rest of the deck's too valuable. And based on the past, Konami does balance based on the value of cards. So for example, you look at Blackwings. Simoon, Ultra Rare, Bora, Ultra Rare, the Zephyros, the Gale, the Black Whirlwind, those all have too much value. So they didn't want to touch those cards. Instead, they touched the Orochi, which is a rare. They touched the Raikiri, which is a rare. They had to swerve around all these other ultra rares and super rares just to nerf Blackwings. It was so difficult to nerf Blackwings. Orochi was already just used at 1, so they put it to 2, just to avoid you from playing Hate True Nade. That was it. But this does not mean that they don't nerf value cards. It's just usually a last resort. Before they nerf the value cards, they nerf the other cards. So time will tell. Usually your value cards are not in danger unless they're older than 6 months. But you know what? Anything could happen. This is not a rule. It's just kind of what we've been seeing. Here's an example of a value card, the Nanishi, a super rare from a box. Within 1 month of the deck becoming top tier, they semi-limited Nanishi. Now, Nanishi has been an old card. It came out in 2018, but it wasn't top tier until the Kunamzan came out. So who knows what Konami's reasoning is for this. So what's the total damage? Let's look at a top tier version of Onomats. No more True Nade. And you go down to 1 Do Draw, or you take out 1. So you have 2 draw, no more True Nade, and you do have a reduced consistency of getting the Do Glove and Onomat in the graveyard on your very first turn, which opens up so many plays. It's not just for drawing 2, it's for making big plays afterwards, so that does hurt the consistency of the deck. I don't think the skill will be nerfed. I know a lot of people think the skill should be nerfed. I don't think it will. The deck will still be very good and just play a bit differently. The chat likes the change. Noble Knight nerfs up next. Boars. Why would boars be limited to 2? Dkayed, are you out of your mind? I'm so angry watching this video. How could you be saying that all of this is going to happen? It's a prediction. It's just off the precedent. Calm down, please, chill. Boars limited to 2. Normally when a deck has many other good options, cards, and plays, they will restrict the better play to encourage you to do the other plays and play other cards. Noble Knight is a deck like that. It's not a linear deck. It's not a deck that solely depends on the combo of Madrat, summon boars, dump the trap, and make the rank 5 exceed. The deck is so much more than that. But that's a really broken, consistent combo. I do think they want to hit that combo. because Noble Knights isn't a deck that's using semi-limits. So this would be the way to reduce this play. But boars to 2, that's barely even a play. That's not going to reduce the consistency that much. Well, it is if you're going to only play 1 boars. Why will you play 1 boars? Because the other semi-limit would be Guinevere. Guinevere, you only play 1, so why would you limit to 2? Same thing with Blackwings earlier in this video. They limited a card you play 1 to 2 with another card, so you continue to play 1 and 1 of the other. So that's going to restrict the boars, and you can't play semi-limits in your deck. Not that the deck was really doing so anyway. Some people were. Some people were playing Treacherous, so no more Treacherous. And you drop the boars to 1 to reduce the combo of Madrat boars, dump a trap. Now, here's the thing with Noble Knights. This isn't the only way to reduce the consistency of this combo, which, I mean, you could still summon Custody in turn 1, which is also an amazing play. There's other ways to do it. They could touch the trap. So I'm predicting that they're going to do something around the trap. Whether they nerf the trap or nerf boars, they want to stop this combo from being too consistent. That's the main thing. The deck is still amazing without that turn 1 combo being super, super consistent. So that's more than one way to reduce this play. Now, Konami has to ask themselves with any change, can the player base complain about this change? Specifically, if they were to limit the trap to 1, it's your investment. You invested in the trap. Now you can only play 1, you have 3, you paid money for the 2nd and 3rd. Can you reasonably be upset? Well, sure, you can, but you're investing in Merlin and the Exceed at the same time as investing in the trap. So with the trap being limited to 1 and you have a 2nd and 3rd copy you can't use, you have Merlin, you have the Exceed, your investment wasn't wasted. As long as the deck is still good, you can't really get upset about a nerf like this, so it's a nerf that makes sense. So in addition to the balance nerf, which is either no more guaranteed monster spell and trap or no more special summoning in the first turn, this is what the deck could look like. And it really did not change much. So well, in here you would also have to take out, no, actually you keep the Treacherous too. This deck would barely even change. So it looks like changing balance is almost needed because you have to deal with that skill, and then wow, you take out the other trap, not a big deal. It's like a slight little tap. So I am leaning towards them probably with a deck list like this, that they will instead put the boars to 2 alongside the Guinevere, so 1 boars, 1 Guinevere, and you'll lose the Treacherous if you're playing it. The impact is your reduced consistency of dumping the trap on your first turn, plus the balance nerf. If you continue to use it, you can't special summon your first turn, or you no longer have guaranteed monster spell in your opening hand. Now, quick history before we hop into what I think may be happening with Thunder Dragons. I know they recently unnerfed the Thunder Dragon Dark. If we look at May 11th, 2020, the Dark went to 3 so that you couldn't play it with the Sark or the Charge, or you had to choose. Because with 3, 3, and 3, you can only play 1, 1, 1 if you want to play all 3, because that's how the limits work if something's limited to 3. But then, September 2020, not too long after they nerfed the Dark became unlimited. Now, Thunder Dragons was really good, that's why they had to do the nerf. Recently, a big boost for Thunder Dragons that they did not have before, which was the reason to nerf the Dark, the Sark, and the Charge, is the Exceeds. Now they have Exceeds. That's a big different way to play the deck and makes the deck really, really good. They turn 1 Bouncer for negating, the M7 for returning cards on the field back to the hand, 1 card at a time, a monster, or returning your own Levineer on your field or graveyard back to your hand, then resummoning it. That is insane. Also, the Helio popping multiple cards, crazy. With that said, I think the Dark's gonna go to 2, limited to 2, alongside the Charge of the Light Brigade. Now, if Konami is merciful, I was just being nice with this. They may not even do this. I am predicting this, but what I'm about to tell you, they may do. I'm gonna like half predict it. I'm strongly predicting this, but Gold Sark might become unlimited with the Dragon Dark change. So you can go back to playing Sark with your Thunder Dragons, but you can only play 2 Thunder Dragon Dark and no Charge Light Brigade. Well, why? It's less sack. You have an unstoppable, a cost to mill 3 with Charge, which could immediately set up for a Levineer. which then Leveneer is gonna pop the field. So that's not cool. We don't like charge into Leveneer. It feels like you don't really have counterplay to it. You just get wiped out. So instead with Gold Sark, the deck's gonna be more consistent with less mill into a sack. There's more counterplay. So when they exceed, you can try to flip it down, you can negate it, they can tribute summon it, but you know, there's a back and forth of stopping them from filling up the graveyard to summon the Leveneer. With the Charged Light Brigade, you feel helpless, they mill, get ready for the Leveneer. So here's an example of what the deck would look like. So you lose in the dark, the charges, and now you get to play Gold Sark. Does the chat like this? They were kind of mixed on it. A lot of no's, a lot of yeses. Fire Reload. Only usable with fire-type monsters in your main deck. Extra can have anything. Dkayed. That is insane. You're killing the skill. Well, in Duel Links, a lot of skills are meant to not be played. What? That's right. Most skills in the game, most. Look at this. Oh my Jesus. 99% of these skills are not used. Most of them, their purpose is to be a meme, just to be a role play, to maybe use in PvE. Okay, I don't think this was meant to be used in a top tier deck with just Volcanic Shell. So it's not that the skill was so good because of Volcanics being so good. That would have been ideal. Hopefully, with a change like this, I would love for Konami to give great support for Volcanics, that we could actually use this skill in a pure Volcanic deck that's not being abused with Invoker. Not cool. Do you really believe the intention with the skill was to only be used and abused by one shell? Just shell, no other card? I don't think so. So last year, for example, around this time, this is an example of a bunch of changes they made to the game. So that's why we're expecting some changes to skills in addition to the cards. So what the deck would look like is you would just lose the Fire Reload. Boom. Crossed off, no more reload, and then they could change their deck up a bit or the deck dies and we all cheer. Chat likes the change. Moving on to Ancient Fairy Dragon. I predicted this before, I will predict it again. I'm mostly predicting this because I believe Konami maybe saw the last video and was like, oh, that's a good idea, let's do that in the next ban list. Do it, Konami. Ancient Fairy Dragon is a free search for Necrovalley. In TCG, you have to play a field spell, then pop the field spell or pop your opponent's field spell. In Duel Links, you could start the game with a field spell, so it's free. Without losing a card in the hand, you already have a field spell, you make Ancient Fairy searches a Necrovalley. Not cool. Limited to 2, I would not play more than 2. What does this even do? Well, in a Blackwing deck which is abusing it, they will no longer be able to play it. They're playing the Ancient Fairy to search for their Necrovalley. It's really not cool. Another thing I cringed at when I saw it in the Kaiba event, they searched for a turn 1 Necrovalley against the Influencer playing Thunder Dragons. The Influencer couldn't do anything. It was an auto loss. And I had to explain to my stream that the Blackwing deck automatically won by searching Necrovalley on turn 1. Not cool. Come on, Konami. Do something. Now, during the stream, we just had a random bout of talking about ideally what would Konami do and a random wish list. So this is not a big thing that I really put a lot of thought into. It's just random thoughts. Just random thoughts I grabbed in the air and I threw them onto the paper. People saying, oh, MG, just hit True Nade. If every time a deck abuses True Nade, they get semi-limited, just hit True Nade. Yeah, sure, ban it. I would love for them to ban it. I'm so sick of decks using it, then getting semi-limited. It's not a surprise. It happens every freaking time. Just give compensation plus ban True Nade. Also, just ban Necrovalley because even though the Ancient Fairy Dragon's being used in Blackwing's, non-Gravekeeper decks are using Necrovalley. Water Exceed, we have Gokis using Necrovalley even without a way to search it. They're using it and it's really not cool. So give compensation, ban it. This is just a wish list. This is not gonna happen, okay? This is not gonna happen. And give Gravekeepers an exclusive skill. So before you got super angry at me, Mr. Gravekeeper or Mrs. Gravekeeper player, I got you. Just wait. A new skill has been born. It's called Necrovalley. I did consult with the chat on what the skill should be called. We did come up with this name together. If you play only Gravekeepers in your deck, at least a minimum amount to maybe avoid abuse, this is probably extra, you start the duel with Commandant. You discard Commandant, you add a Necrovalley. But Necrovalley's banned. But the skill also put 3 Necrovalleys in your deck to search with Commandant. Yes, let's go. Also for fun, another skill, because I was thinking of another card that will never come to the game. So we came up with the name Fire Fisted. If you're a TCG player, you know all about Tenki. Tenki's never coming to Duel Links because it searches for a Beast Warrior. So this will always be a problem card, as it could search for any Beast Warrior, not a Fire Fist. So if you play only Fire Fists, you get Fire Fisted as you activate the skill to grab a Tenki, and you get to search a Fire Fist. What do they think about the skills? Yes to both of them. They want to get Fire Fisted, they want Necrovalley. Get rid of Trunade, get rid of Necrovalley. Also ban Treacherous Trap Hole. Again, this is not a complete wish list or a complete list of ideally what should happen. Just random thoughts. So a quick rundown. This is not the end of the video. We're going to get to community changes, what the community wants changed. Balance, Noble Knights, Desperado, Invoked Fire, Thunder Dragons, Gold Sark, Unlimit, Onomat, and Black Wings using Necrovalley. This is what I am predicting will happen. Not what I want to happen. Some of it is what I do want to happen. But I'm predicting what will happen with the ban list. What was not hit and why? Dkayed, you forgot about this, you forgot about that, I forgot about nothing. Water Exceed, Blue Eyes, and Karma Cut. Yeah, a lot of you want Karma Cut to be hit. I know that. I don't feel Water or the Blue Eyes decks are either suppressing other decks enough from being top tier. Oh, the Blue Eyes makes the Spirit Dragon, it negates my cards in the graveyard. The Water Exceed is suppressive. I'm not talking about what the decks do specifically to counter stuff. I'm talking about the existence of the deck is making other decks not as good. I feel like it's not doing it enough yet to the point of nerfing these decks. So for example, they nerf Noble Knights, then other decks can become better just by nerfing the power of a deck. When the top deck's a little bit worse, the other decks become a little bit better. And I don't think these decks are either one of these two things, either not popular enough, which would be applied to Water, and for Blue Eyes, it's very popular. I don't think Blue Eyes is really restricting enough other decks from being good. I do have a problem with Necrovalley being used in Water Exceed after we already talked about our wish list, but it's an ultra rare, it's from a selection box, from a main box. They're not going to touch Necrovalley. Maybe they could limit it to 3, but they're not going to limit it to 1 or limit it to 2 ever. So maybe in the future, Necrovalley will see a limit to 3. I'm not expecting it in the next ban list though. Now, a prediction on top of a prediction. I'm not predicting these changes in the next ban list. I'm predicting this in a future ban list along down the line if things continue to be the way they are. I think that Necrovalley and Infantry could go to 3, but it's not going to happen in this next ban list. I'm not predicting it. So that would take out the Necrovalley. And I'm predicting that Sage might go to 2. I'm predicting that Karma Cut may go to 3. Not for the next ban list. In the future, what are some possible unnerfs? So real quick on the tier list page, we can look at the Forbidden Limited list. It will flash right before you as we look at cards that are banned. Limited to 1, limited to 2. Getting a good look, getting a good look. We looking, limited to 3. There you go. So what do I think off of everything we just looked at, what could be unnerfed? Well, the Magician Navigation, Circle, Dark Magician play is the main reason why Navigation was limited to 3 alongside the Rod going to 3. So that has greatly reduced the power of the deck. The deck's basically non-existent on the website. Did they mean to kill the deck? Probably not, but the combo is too suppressive. I think instead of unnerfing Dark Magician, we could expect new Dark Magician support to make the deck good without this consistent banish, negate, lethal combo. Not a cool combo. I don't expect it being unnerfed. So I'm sorry if you are a Dark Magician fan, but be excited for new support. Invoked will likely stay, Koakai will likely stay on the ban list. For hire, I think they could get off of the ban list. They're not that good even off the ban list. We've had dual rooms where for hire didn't even do that well. Dkayed could possibly come off, maybe the Ancient Ritual. We have Rose Lover, definitely can come off. Get off the ban list, Rose Lover. What are you doing? Maybe Ygopro being unlimited, but then Sanctified Dark Lord and Contact would be limited to 2, so you can only play 1 of each. Now, why should and shouldn't you do this? The impact would be you could still only play 1 Contact, 1 of the Sanctified Dark Lord, but the big problem is the Ygopro being used in non-Dark Lord decks. This draw engine's way too powerful. It's already being abused in Stick and Chair. So it's a huge development headache for any new combos of, oh, what if they put this combo with Ygopro? So that's why, unfortunately, Waifu Chell may be semi-limited forever. You may never see her come back again. On the topic of Ygopro, this is a reason why we might see Cup of Ace be removed off the ban list. Even though I was not predicting it, it could be a problem down the line where they're just going to deal with Cup of Ace because they don't want to see people teching it. I'm seeing Cup of Ace being used in Dark Magician. They're using it in Star Seraph. I don't think they want you to use it with that. I think it was meant for Desperado only. But if it's kind of like the Ygopro where it's branching off into other decks, they're going to deal with it. Community wish list changes. Well, we had a bunch of votes, and the #1 wish list change is to nerf Karma Cut. People are pissed about Karma Cut. If we look at the popularity rankings, it's the #1 most popular card. Now, what used to be a card that everyone wanted banned, that was #1, the #1 card in Karma Cut's place. We thought this card would be good forever. Canadia. They never did anything to Canadia. The meta changed. The back row changed. Canadia, which is what people did want nerfed. Don't lie, if you played when Canadia was popular, you wanted this card to be nerfed. Limit to 3, 2, 1, ban it, get rid of it. So maybe with Karma Cut, the same could happen. It's not being used in every single top tier deck. It's being used in these top tier decks. You could see how often they're using it at 0, which is very low. But I don't see anything happen to Karma Cut right now. This card's not even close to being good in the TCG, I know that. So they could just release a better card or have a meta where if the top tier decks don't mind being banished by Karma Cut, like if Metapiss just becomes a top tier deck, then that could be the possible solution to Karma Cut instead of nerfing Karma Cut. Or just have top tier decks that don't want to discard. You have Blue Eyes that loves discarding, you have Noble Knights that likes discarding or can afford to discard. But again, not every deck's using this. Thunder Dragons would probably like to discard, but they don't use this. Desperado activates off of being discarded. So make anti-banishment or make top tier decks that don't like to discard. They want Witchcrafters unnerfed. Well, with Witchcrafters, I think that it would possibly be good to unnerf. I'm looking at what is nerfed. We have the Holiday being semi-limited, and the Charge Light Brigade, they do like using that. But a lot of you complain about Madame. Madame is an unfun card to play against. You all did not like the Lolly. So let me know in the chat, in the comments. Do you like her? Are you okay with this being unnerfed? Because a lot of people were really upset to play against this. This is kind of like a Cocytus, where you summon it turn 1, it could shut down a ton of decks because it negates the entire field. It will boost up to 1,000 per spell in the hand. So if your deck can't deal with the full field negate plus a giant booty, the defense going really high, that's what I mean, then you are really unhappy about this card existing and being top tier. Speaking of a suppressive play, people want 6 Sam to be unnerfed. Another possible unfun deck to play against. Oh, Dkayed, anything that's good is unfun to play against. Well, is that true? You tell me. Because people really hated Xian. They make this turn 1. He negates any spell or trap you activate once per turn. really unfun to play against. But if the meta is lots of monster effects, which it kind of is, then you know what? This is okay to come back. Not that this card's limited itself, but to be more prevalent in the meta, to be more easily summoned and seen in the top tier deck of 6 Sam if you unlimit the deck. And then the other top pick was Cyber Angels. You know what? I'm fine with this. The deck back in the day was a deck that wins going second. We have too many decks that win going first. They set up first with their big field, big back row, and they win. So if we want to bring back another deck that does well going second, which is basically what Cyber Angels was, with Karma Cut, how is this card even a problem? Give us Cyber Angels. Boom. Cyber Angels. That is all the changes. A very long video, but we are in depth with it. We went through everything. This is my ban list prediction, not what I want. It is what I'm predicting is going to happen. Have at it, fools.